Hi, welcome back to the Nerdy Naturalist channel where we like to discuss the biology of pop. And today we're going to try something a little fun and discuss some dragons that you may know from pop culture or literature.
I'm Dr. Kelly Zimmerman. I'm an ecologist and an entomologist.
I'm Dr. Ped Danishkar. I'm a botanist and an ecologist. And today we're going to talk about the biology of dragons, essentially. So Kelly, what do you think makes a good dragon?
Ooh, wings. I like my dragons to fly. I don't like terrestrial ground-based dragons only. Um, Maybe some kind of neat breath weapon. So I come from like a Dungeons and Dragons background, so we have lots of breath weapons to come from. Um, yeah, your basic dragony stuff. Why? What do you think is the perfect dragon?
I just like dragons that make sense.
In what context?
Uh, I like things that seem plausible, even though
Mm-hmm.
dragons are completely fictional and fantasy. I like to see a dragon like in television or in the movies that says, okay, that looks like it could exist, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the anatomy needs to make sense. The Whether it has armor or color, like the colors need to make sense to me,
Given
right?
given where it lives too,
Yeah,
right? You're
given
thinking
where
about
it
the
lives, it's
ecology.
exactly right. So we see lots of different dragons. There in Asian culture, there's a lot of like aquatic dragons.
Mm.
So for them, having scales, akin to a fish makes sense to
Right. They
me.
have to be hydrodynamic.
Right, and
Right.
they should also have like fins rather than
Yeah.
paws or something like that. So I always kind of look at that. But in your head, what kind of animal would you say a dragon is? Is it reptilian or?
Yeah, I would say a reptilian, although the body plan is usually kind of incorrect if we think about the evolution of reptiles, and we'll probably see this when we get into the video clips. But reptiles have four limbs,
Right.
so that extra pair of wings should technically be a limb or a pair of limbs, and does not make sense. We don't really have anything like that other than maybe insects. Insects have like extra. Those wings did not evolve from limbs; they evolved from something else. So they're kind of bug-like
So based on what
evolutionarily.
we have on Earth, what makes most sense is a winged dragon with two additional legs rather than
Yeah,
four legs
yeah,
and a
yeah.
pair of
Then it
wings,
would be
right?
more insectoid.
Right.
Or what's more likely would be either a dragon that its wings are coming from the arm, like a bat. That pretty normal convergent evolution that's happened many times. Or if you want to go real crazy, there are some lizards that can glide, and they do that by expanding their rib cages. So maybe wings, like, they can't flap them, they just
Right. There are some
expand.
lizards that do that already.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. So
Right.
that would
Yeah.
be another example of kind of the closest thing to a dragon we have now,
So okay,
like
so you're
here.
thinking reptilian. So to go with that, likely a set of scales, maybe
Yeah.
exothermic, things like that. I always, being flying animals typically in my head, I wonder maybe they're avian, maybe, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see feathers on a dragon. That kind of makes sense, but we don't really see examples of feathery
No.
dragons like anywhere.
Um,
Um, we
Not
do
that I
see
can
more
think of.
reptilian.
Yeah.
We also see more occasionally mammalian. Um, we'll look at an example today of
Yeah.
something that's
One of my
clearly like a
favorite
mammal. Yeah,
mammalian examples. Yeah.
yeah. So what we're gonna do is I selected 10 dragons that have been in pop culture and literature, and we're gonna watch video clips of these dragons and sort of comment on what we think about them. So our first dragon is a classic dragon that comes from The Hobbit, Smaug. And Smaug is probably one of the first real dragons to appear in English literature from Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think of Smaug's look here from The Hobbit?
So we're all watching together right now.
Yeah,
This to me is classic Dungeons and Dragons dragon. This is what we think of. I think what most people think of. It's the four limbs, very reptilian looking, extra set of wings, like an extra
well,
pair.
actually, if you look here, it's got two
Is
legs
he?
and a pair of wings and no
Oh, he's
second
not.
set.
He's
He's a drake.
a drake. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, never mind then. That's not
Yeah,
what I
so
was
he does have
thinking.
claws on the tips of his wings, so he has like
He's
the
like a
ability
bat,
to, yeah,
almost like a bat, where they have sort of usable, still claw-like limbs, then the wings extend. Yeah, this to me is, I mean, this is also kind of classic Welsh mythology has dragons like
Right.
this. So,
Which makes sense for Tolkien type of
yeah,
writing
yeah,
and stuff.
Tolkien.
The thing that's interesting is like when they're making it like sort of reptilian, that doesn't necessarily make sense for cave life, right?
There's
So if they're
not,
because they're going to be exothermic,
yeah, not
so
deep in a cave.
no,
Generally, reptiles who do live in caves are living closer to the entrance where they can get some heat.
right.
Um,
Or maybe on the edge of a volcano, that makes sense
yeah,
because there's
yeah,
heat and things like
where
that.
it's hot.
So, anyways, that's good. So our next dragon is very similar, also very well known in the last few years from Game of Thrones, Drogon. So in this clip, we've got baby Drogon when,
Oh, baby Drogon.
yeah, when Daenerys is
Not
teach
crazy.
not crazy and teaching you how to feed. But it also has very similar anatomy. So two hind legs,
It's very bat-like.
very bat
Baby
like,
Drogon is very, very
right?
bat-like.
The wings look kind of leathery
Mhm.
and so very different.
The scales
Here's,
also look kind of smooth. So the
yeah.
scales on the body are not as armored as Tolkien's.
So, okay, so a lot of the dragons do have armor. And why would that make sense on something so, what's essentially an alpha predator or at the top of a food chain?
Well,
So,
they're alpha when they're big, not
right,
so much when they're little, right? So
right.
this could be a defense that comes in and just stays from childhood. From
Right. Or interspecific competition. Maybe they're
Yeah,
fighting
if
with
they're
each
fighting each
other.
other, look at those talons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, yeah. So, Drogon and Smaug are very similar um, in their kind of design and
yeah, oh yeah.
very, classic dragon. All right. The next one is Shenron from Dragon Ball Z. This is a little different. In my searches for best dragons, this came up a lot. And Shenron is very serpent-like.
Yeah.
And he's got the most dad voice I've ever heard in my life, which is kind of funny.
Well,
Um,
this is the sort of classic, Asian dragon shape,
yeah.
which is, yeah, very serpent-like, very worm-like.
How do they fly? So
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't have
flying, right?
wings.
Yeah,
Yeah, he flies around and
magic.
he has the ability to grant wishes and things like that. And it doesn't make sense. Also, the long, what are those, whiskers? Or
Well,
that seems to
so
be a common thing
that
in
could
Asian
be,
dragons.
if you want to think about that from a biological perspective, is it like a catfish? Is he using it
Uh,
as a sensory
for
structure?
sensory,
Yeah,
or like a cat to
or a cat like
detect
whiskers.
space and
Yeah.
volume and stuff like that.
Although with cats, the whiskers usually don't go too much wider than the cat, and this
Yeah,
guy is real out there.
right,
But with
right.
catfish, they do. So
Yeah.
maybe it's something similar to that.
Also, it just seems like he's endless. He's just such a long
He just keeps
dragon. He
going.
just seems to go on and on and on. Very snake-like. Our next dragon is really popular recently. I've got both the animated and live-action versions, which are basically the same
The same
thing.
movie.
And I've made videos about this, but Toothless from How to Train a Dragon is basically a cat.
He's very cute.
He's got cat eyes. He's
Yeah.
got cat behavior. He purrs. The way his legs are, um, they're very much cat-like, where the front paws are very different architecturally than the
Oh,
back
okay. All right.
behind.
Yeah.
But he also has like bat-like wings, so he does have essentially 6 limbs,
He's
which
got
is
6. Yeah. Makes him more of a bug
right.
than a vertebrate.
The other thing that he's got, which is kind of interesting, is around his head are not horns per se, because they lean back and move. He looks like
It's
a,
almost like the moving ears of a cat.
yeah,
Right?
moving ears of a cat.
He is very cat-like.
My kid thinks they look like an axolotl.
Oh,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
Those are gills on an axolotl, though.
yes,
So,
right,
yeah, different
right.
structure.
So very Toothless is very playful. We see it in both films how playful he
We don't.
is.
Yeah, I think when we generally think about dragons in dragon lore, we're not thinking playful. We're thinking either destructive or protective or something like that, but
Right.
not like cute and
Yeah,
cuddly.
Toothless is essentially a pet, and so
Yeah.
his behavior is pet-like. We see him and he's chasing light like a cat, so just very much a cat.
Adorable.
Now, similar to cat, This is a classic dragon from the 80s, Falcor from the Neverending Story, which looks like my dog Penny, which
Yeah. Look at that big old
yeah,
dog.
it's sort of like a Cocker Spaniel uh, mammalian dragon.
Also, no wings,
No
right?
wings.
So how's Falcor flying?
So he sort of winds through the air. Um, you would think his ears are involved, but they're not.
They just flop.
Yeah. But very, very dog-like. He does have scales on the back.
Yeah, he's like furry and scaly at the same time.
Yeah, it's a weird design. Yeah, I don't really get how Falcor is able to fly. His anatomy doesn't make any
He's
sense.
barely moving.
He just
He's
hits all
pretty
the
stiff
heartstrings because, like, I
because he's
remember
cute.
Neverending Story as a child and loving it. Although I don't think it ages as well as I remember.
It's also pretty traumatic.
Yeah, it's pretty
There's some pretty
traumatic. Like the
traumatic
whole world
scenes.
basically gets destroyed and then reborn.
Well,
You know. So,
and the horse,
yeah, God,
the horse seed. Sorry,
well,
everyone.
it's funny. It
Remind
kind
you
of
of the
reminds me
horse.
how like storytelling has changed because in the 80s, like movies pacing was a lot slower and
Mm-hmm.
they weren't afraid to do like kind of things that would freak children out today.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
anyways,
boy, remember the Dark Crystal
yeah,
and how freaky the Dark Crystal was?
that gave
Yeah,
me
that was
nightmares.
yeah.
Yeah. Jim Henson at his best,
Henson, yeah.
but yeah. Our next dragon comes from a Disney classic. I decided to kind of like have us watch the animated version
Okay.
because the live action version looks very similar to dragons we see elsewhere. But
This
this
is a
is,
fun live action version though.
yeah, there's,
Angelina Jolie.
yeah, exactly. There's some really interesting features to this dragon. There seems to be like wings on the head or some
Yeah.
sort of like fin-like things on the head, which is kind of interesting and weird.
They don't seem to do anything. They
No.
just look like decoration.
Yeah, decorative. There's also like 3 or 4 random spikes down its neck. Um, and she breathes yellowy green fire. So I don't.
Well, like I said, for me, I love a dragon that breathes something. So
Yeah.
this is pretty classic. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
There's a couple scenes where her wings look a little transparent, actually.
Her
So
wings are too small.
too small for the
There's
size of her
no
body.
way a dragon with wings that small
Right.
could fly.
Yeah, too small for the size of her
She's
body.
chunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like sort of a classic storybook dragon, really.
Yeah, I think that's my main gripe. And it's just an art choice, I
Yeah.
guess. But she can't fly with those wings.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Now, the next dragon is also from a Disney animated film, Mushu from Mulan. Probably one of my favorites, the funniest for sure. And I actually was really disappointed to find that they didn't use Mushu in the live action adaptation.
Oh, I wonder
Um,
why.
So Mushu is meant to be sort of a spirit dragon to kind of guide Mulan in life. And when they first present Mushu, he's like kind of big, but it turns out he's actually very small.
He's a little
similar,
guy.
almost similar in size to a cricket. So it's just kind of
I wonder.
funny.
I wonder for live action if it would be too hokey.
Yeah,
Like
they
you
wanted to
can't
make
make it
something
serious,
realistic.
and you want her
Yeah,
to be serious. The
because
Mulan
Mulan
story
was a
is
real
serious.
person, right? So
Yeah.
not making it. But here we see how little he is,
Mm.
and he gets trampled on
He
by a
has
horse.
no wings.
No
No
wings.
wings. He's just like a little lizard guy.
Yeah, little lizard guy. Sort of a little bit classic in design. I think of like those, like,
Oh, yeah, classic Asian style dragons.
yeah,
Yeah,
very like
but not
windy and all
but not
that.
long enough, I think,
Yeah.
compared to other examples.
He also does this like weird like tongue thing that like
Like a
snakes
snake?
do.
Yeah.
To kind of breathe and stuff and to smell essentially, right? So
Yeah, snakes
that's
use their tongues to smell.
yeah. Our next dragon comes from classic Godzilla franchise,
Oh,
King
love it.
Ghidorah, right? And
Love Godzilla.
this is an alien
Oh,
dragon. This
yeah.
is not from Earth. And the origin of the 3 dragon meme, you know, the 2
Oh,
series.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at these classic 70s models, men in costumes flapping around. I love it.
It's awesome.
I love Godzilla.
Now, realistically, 3-headed anything doesn't make sense.
No.
Right?
I mean, it happens.
It
Well,
does. Two-headed. Yeah, we
two-headed
see
things.
2-headed snakes a bunch, and which are collector's items apparently, and
That's
things like
weird.
that. But
Sorry,
that
snake
usually is the
collectors.
product of just like development in the egg,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
So not a nice clean split and everything like that. So a 3-headed dragon doesn't really make sense. Also, Ghidorah has this like gold color.
Yeah, well, gold is a classic color from Dungeons and Dragons. So Dungeons and dragons are either metallic or chromatic. So there's gold, bronze, and silver, and platinum, and then chromatic dragons are blue, red, whatever. So this kind of makes sense to me from that, at least from my nerd background.
Right.
Gold is fine, and I guess if he is from space, he's made into something else.
Yeah.
Right.
He also makes
Crazy
the
noises.
weirdest sounds you've ever heard.
Crazy
Yeah.
noises.
So we haven't talked about that, but a lot of these dragons traditionally just like roar like a dragon would,
Yeah.
right? My kids love to ask Google, what does a dragon sound like? And you hear a roar, and then you hear the sound of something being burnt. And it's
Okay.
kind of
That's funny.
interesting.
Yeah.
But like Ghidorah makes like beeps and squeaks
Yeah.
and stuff, so it's really kind of weird and sort of it was a choice. But anyway, our next dragon comes from Spirited Away, Haku. And this is another dragon that I feel is sort of mammalian, kind of has fur to it. Sort of aquatic, but...
Is it fur or feathers? It almost
yeah,
looked like feathers
well,
to
it
me.
depends on the scene. So
But
it looks like
yeah,
it has a
interesting.
mane,
Yeah,
sort
oh
of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
And
Maybe
then
it
it's
is
got a
fur.
very dog-like face.
Oh wow, yeah,
right?
you're right. It's like wolf-like.
Yeah,
It's
very
very
wolf-like. It looks like
canine.
it's got canine teeth. Yeah. But just a great...
I like this dragon.
I love this
I'm
dragon.
into it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like it. I think it kind of makes the movie, actually.
Yeah.
So,
But other features are all similar. Again, the classic shape. But look at its talons. So even though it's fully furred and wolf-like up top, the talons are bird-like.
yeah,
Which is kind of interesting.
right. Rather than like,
So like almost like chicken.
rather than like dog paws or something like that.
So that's an interesting art choice.
Interesting.
That's cool.
It makes good for grabbing things, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
When you don't have like,
Yeah,
opposable thumbs
wolf
or
paws
something.
aren't great for that. So
Yeah,
this works.
exactly. So, yeah, it's a cool dragon for the story. I kind of want to pet it, honestly.
Me too.
But not the traditional dragon. So we do see like sort of a pattern with Asian dragons having sort of that long, more snake-like kind of design, whereas the more English Welsh dragons have more of the classic big body, big wings, all that. So where that like kind of divide happened in the storytelling over, I'm not really sure, but
it was always a divide, right? They're two very different Western and Eastern cultures, and certainly within Eastern and within Western cultures, there's huge differences as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was just always like that.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. It's very cool. I'm in it for all the dragons. Give me every dragon. I don't care.
But okay, so just to pose this to you, Western versus Eastern, which one seems more realistic?
Western.
Western?
I think so. It's because they're, well...
I would say Eastern, because we have serpent-like animals already.
We do, but they can't fly.
No.
And they're not...
But I've seen snakes in the water.
Yeah, they're pretty, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I don't know. I guess they're both equally plausible. I think things like wyverns in Western mythology that are more like bats. That seems plausible to me. It seems very plausible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and some of these dragons came out of like poor paleontology, right?
Yeah.
And so they found like.
Well, I love poor paleontology. Yeah. We should do a whole episode on bad paleontology.
Yeah. And that has like, people have misinterpreted fossils and said, oh, this must be a dragon or whatever. Yeah. So.
Cyclops, same, like all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. All right, so our last dragon, this was sort of a choice.
Last but not least.
Last but not least, Charizard. Anybody who's a fan of Pokemon knows that there's a lot of Pokemon that are technically dragons or dragon type. Charizard is probably being the most famous. Some might argue it's Dragonite, but Charizard is the most well known. My only question about Charizard is, why is he orange?
Why is his tail on fire?
Okay, so he's a fire type, yeah. So, and he does evolve, and his basic stages, they're essentially reptiles. Charmander, Charmeleon, they're essentially reptiles, and then kind of evolve or metamorphose into Charizard.
Well, he's another one with a body that's too big for them wings.
Oh yeah,
It's not gonna work.
100%.
You can't fly with those. Look at him.
Yeah. There are alternate versions of Charizard that are in other colors. The new Mega Charizard that came out is got like a dark blue. It's kind of
Oh,
cool
okay.
looking. Um, but in
It
the
also
world of Pokemon, he's such a great fighter. He's such a good battle Pokemon.
he
But
stands upright a lot.
he
So,
does.
usually when we think about dragons, we think they're on all fours. But Charizard seems to be
They're
always
probably thinking about the
he's
costuming and
bipedal.
mascots. You know, they know that
Yeah,
somebody's gonna have to wear that costume at some point. And it's easier to walk around on two
I
legs.
guess so. Yeah,
So
got to think about that brand promotion. That's what
yeah,
they're doing.
yeah. But Charizard is a classic.
Is he your favorite dragon Pokemon?
Um, no. My student Paul has convinced me it's Giratina, I think.
Okay.
And Giratina doesn't look like a dragon at all. Sort
No,
of like
I'll have to look
weird
it up.
serpenty. Yeah. There's a lot of really cool dragon types. But yeah. Um, so that's definitely something to explore, how they kind of define them. But anyways, out of all these dragons we just watched, who do you think fits the bill the best? Who's your
Um,
top dragon?
I would say either Smog or Drogon. I think those for me feel pretty classic dragon. They also have the arm wings, so evolutionarily speaking, I could see reptiles going in that direction. Works for me. I'll 8 out of 10, I guess,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
for believability. Yeah.
yeah. I'm a little torn because I think about like the role they play in the story, and Drogon is so
Mm,
impactful in Game of
yeah.
Thrones,
Oh yeah.
right? But
I was just thinking
similarly to Spirit
evolution.
Away,
Yeah.
yeah, Spirit Away. So from a story element, I do like Drogon, but yeah, I don't know. Mushu might be the most realistic because of his
Because he's
size.
little.
He's so
Yeah.
little that it's plausible. We have like reptilian reptiles that are that size,
Yeah.
and some that even sort of have
Yeah,
dragon-like qualities.
that's right. We didn't even really talk about size. When you're thinking about the grand scale, we just don't have megafauna this big anymore.
Yeah,
They're gone.
and to imagine megafauna lifting off the ground, right? Like
No, I
imagine an
can't.
elephant
I
lifting
can't.
off the
Yeah,
ground,
yeah.
right?
It wouldn't work.
Right. So the body design would have to be birds fly partly because they're lightweight and small, and so it
Yeah.
would have to be sort of akin to that. So for a dragon to realistically fly,
Well, we
it
did
would have
have
to have the hollow bones, like the
like
reduced digestive
yeah,
system, the
like a
all that.
pterodon or a pterodactyl or a
Right.
Quetzalcoatlus
Right.
from way back
Right.
then.
And in those cases, the wings are
Huge,
enormous, right, compared to the
huge.
body
Yeah,
size. So it kind of compensates for that.
yeah. That was my
Um,
beef with half of these. Those wings are
yeah.
way too small to lift an animal that
Well, and
size.
it's like if you kind of compare them to, a large airplane, large things go up in the air. It's the element of lift that's important. Once
Right,
they're up there, they can
they're good.
sail, and the wing side isn't as much of an issue. But the lift of getting off the ground is,
I don't know how they do it. It just
yeah.
no.
Yeah, I think realistically, dragons should run and jump off a cliff and just be like those
Oh, and
like cliff
glide.
divers that can
Yeah.
just glide around. That makes more sense to me. So yeah, we got extreme sport
Animals.
animals. Yeah. Anyways,
I think
um,
yeah, I think this was pretty fun. I love dragons. I'm happy to talk about dragons all day long. If you guys want us to talk about any specific dragons that you love, like write us, let
yeah,
us
leave a
know.
comment or send us an email. Also, if you'd like us to review anything else from pop culture, from fantasy,
Hmm.
if you want us to tear apart Stranger Things or whatever, just let us know. Leave us a comment, and thanks for watching.
Thanks.